Sitting up in my bed, I promised myself it would never happen to me again. I will not be taken for a fool, not anymore. I said to myself, no more sneaking around, no more lies, no more vulnerability. I am now my own woman. But this was not the first time I made those vows and broke them, no matter how serious I sounded. When making these vows, I always ended up breaking them. Before we continue with the story, do not forget to click on the notification button in order to get notified at every new video posted. Thank you. Some say I say what I don't mean and I don't mean what I say. Does it even make a sense? Anyways, strong-willed or not, I'm determined to make the next 6 months of my life count. My name is Susan. I am 29 years old, and this is how it all started. I grew up in a very stable home, parents who loved each other to the moon and back, and a pet who loves me. Corny as it may sound, Dad still makes breakfast for Mom in bed. I vividly remember this one time that I had a sleepover with a couple of friends. We had studied right into the early hours of the morning. Obviously, we were flat out tired. As we got ready to rest on the floor of the living room, we heard Dad rustling some things in the kitchen. Sonia, my best friend, went to drink water and check what's up. She took so long that the rest of us went to the kitchen to find out. We saw her helping Dad fix a plate of omelette, toasted bread, and a cup of coffee, mayonnaise, and some grapefruits, Mom's favorite. Then he rounded it off with a beautifully scented rose flower. Naturally, my friends thought it was so adorable. I thought it was corny though. I was so embarrassed. They had spent the entire day in the room and I tried to zone it out, but I could hear their giggles reaching out in my ears. Out of the ordinary, my parents had become lovesick teenagers all over again. Am I a hater? No. Am I desperate? Yes. I just wish I could experience what my parents have. Being an only child, you'd think that all the lovey-dovey genes would be passed on to me, but that's not the case. I've had my own fair share of heartbreaks over the years, but not anymore. I'm going to focus on work and forget about dating. Are you sure, Susan? Sonia said as we sat to eat at the hospital's lunchroom. It had been a hectic day and we were glad for the time to catch our breath. As sure as the sun is rising every day, which is why I turned down Jude's advances. Jude is our colleague, very smart, goofy, and he snorts when he laughs. He's a good person, but definitely not a keeper as a boyfriend. Jude asked you out? Sonia cringed at the idea of me hanging out with him. Jude may be goofy and all, but he sure gives good advice. Not really, but I could tell that he was going to. Do you now see my plight? Susan, it's not a big deal. You're still very young, and at the word young, I broke out in a mirthful laughter. Very young, you say? Girl, I'm 29 and about to hit 30. You may want to reconsider taking those words off your expressions for now. That reminds me. The hospital's anniversary is in a month. Who are you going to bring as a date? I looked at her and I felt her ears were blocked. She had not heard everything I just said. Sue, I know you want to be alone, but trust me, you are doing all of it for the wrong reasons. There are still good men out there, Sonia said. Some of whom some of you have already snatched up, I encountered. Sonia rubbed her wedding ring but continued looking at me. She was not one to take back easily. One of the reasons why I'm glad to be her friend. That statement, the good men are all taken, is a farce and you know that. Change your aura. Who knows, Mr. Right might be closer than you think. Sonia's words stayed in my mind even after I got off from work and returned to my apartment. Today's activities had me exhausted. Multiple emergencies are not something to joke with. Anyways, there were quiet days too. Today's just one of them. I dumped my bag on the glass table, switched on the TV and carried my plastic bag I bought to the kitchen. I didn't bother to change clothes. I began unloading the plastic contents onto a plate. Grilled fish and fries and saucy pepper. I plopped on my couch and took a bite of my late dinner. Savoring the taste, I thought how this could have been a date and instead of a TV, an actual human being would have been sitting opposite me. Too bad that might never happen. I was about to take another bite when a message got to my phone. Let me guess, you were still in your work clothes? eating some comfort food and probably watching a rom-com, the message read. I almost choked on my food. I double-checked the sender, but it was from an unknown number. Who is this? I wondered. Deciding it's probably a prank, I put the phone aside and continued eating. Few minutes later, another message came in. I hesitated for a bit, then I checked it. You know it's rude to ignore somebody who is talking to you. When that someone has an unknown ID, he becomes a stalker. I don't talk to stalkers. How can you be sure it's a he? A girl has no ego to fear rejection. She would just come face to face, I encountered. Okay, you're right. But what about my guesses? They are almost correct. What did I fail? The movie. I'm watching a documentary, not a rom-com. He sent funny emojis that had me cracking up in laughter. We bantered on text back and forth. Before I knew it, it was past 1 a.m. Since this week started, this had been the most amazing evening ever. Good night, doctor, he finally said. I was about to ask how he knew this about me, but his next text confirmed my suspicions. Don't think too much about it. There's a lot I know about you. You have no idea. Since you seem to know so much about me and I know little to nothing about you, good night, stalker. And that is how we ended the night. I slept with a smile on my face, feeling so happy. Sonia was right about this aura thing. Stalker had helped me change my aura. The next couple of weeks were the most interesting. I had my regular working hours during the day, but at night I cozied up in my couch or in my bed and chatted with Stalker on the phone. Everyone, even Jude, noticed and was marveled at the glow that surrounded me. Although this had been our routine for almost a month, I still did not know much about him. For like the umpteenth time, I yet threw caution out the window. The hospital's anniversary is in a few days, and I need a date. What's your program like on Saturday? I asked one night during our usual talks. I can be available if you need me, doc. Smooth, I thought. Well, I have this anniversary thing at the hospital and I need a date. Will you do me this honor? He went silent. Okay, there is this thing. Since our first chat, we had agreed to never meet. Neither have we engaged in any voice calls. We agreed to give ourselves time to know each other better and persevere the allure of mystery. But my request now would mean breaking all of the rules. It would mean uncovering the sacredness of our situationship, as I called it. I kept staring at my phone waiting for his response, but nothing. I threw the phone on the side and tried to focus on TV, but I couldn't. After an agonizing wait, I got on my phone to cancel all the requests. Look, if you don't want to meet up, that's okay. I'd be delighted, he said, cutting me off. I was so glad. The next couple of texts that ensued were me thanking him for saving my head. Will you come to my place and we go together, or? I inquired. I'll meet you there, doc. How? How will I identify you? I probed. Trust me, you will. Confidence oozed from his statements. Instantly, I anticipated seeing my mystery stalker on Saturday. Saturday finally came and I was all nerves. While Sonia prepared to have fun with her husband, I found myself constantly swallowing several boots of anxiety. I had told her about Stalker, but only as much as I knew, so she's aware that he'll be present today. I arrived at the hall extremely early so that I'd monitor everyone who came in. That way I'd easily identify any new face when it showed up. I watched all my colleagues file in, some with their spouses, others with their dates. Even Jude had a date. The shocking part was he didn't look like the regular Jude we knew. He was neat as always, clean shaven, and he looked handsome. He even had a beautiful girl on his arm. This was so unlike him. Forgetting about Jude and the others, I continued to look out for my mystery man, Stalker. An hour or two later, the party was full bloom. I was tired of explaining to almost everyone that my date was still on his way, so I excused myself and went to my office. I closed the door and sat to cool my head. Music from the main hall echoed down to the corridors. Then I saw a notice on my desk. Let me guess. You were disappointed because I haven't shown up. Typical Susan. Your impatience astounds me every time. You look gorgeous, by the way. I looked up from the ladder around my office to check if I'll see someone watching me, but there was nobody. My heart was racing. I resumed reading. Meet me at the intersection. I'll be waiting for you. Stalker. Oh my god, I was finally going to see my mystery man. He didn't disappoint me. He just wanted to add allure to the mystery. The note still in my hand, I made my way to the intersection. I could feel butterflies in my belly. I made the familiar turn that led to the intersection, and there he was. Wait a minute, is that not Jude? I recognized the outfit he had worn to the party. I walked towards him, dreading the truth as he slowly turned. Oh my god, it's Jude! What? It's been you all this while? I was filled with trepidation. I paused just before him. You've been lying to me. I hit his chest. You manipulated me. I hit his chest again. You. Short of words, I just hit him continually. He reached out and caught my hands in his, stopping my next attempts at hitting him. Susan, I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't even come close to paying off your atonement. Would you have listened to me if I had spoken to you? Would you have even looked at me twice? I recoiled in shame. I have always admired you, Susan. You are beautiful, and I couldn't talk to you without embarrassing myself. Even things as trivial as greeting you. I was amazed at Jude's revelation. I heard you and Sonia talking about me in the lunchroom same day I sent the text later in the evening. I was so ashamed of myself. Jude explained how he had planned to ask me to be his date that day, but the conversation with Sonia had given him a rethink. So I used a different approach to woo you. Because like it or not, I have it bad for you, Susan. He took my hands. I hope we can get past all the drama and start afresh. I hesitated for a bit, thinking on the pros and cons of this situation. What about the lady who came with you? I asked. She's my cousin. I didn't want to appear too obvious tonight. Looking at Jude this closely, I could see the striking features. He had really beautiful eyes. Gone were the nerdy goggles. Jude turned out to be higher than my expectations. It was a funny way of saying yes, but I reached up and hugged him. I finally had a man I could connect with beyond physical attraction. Jude the stalker had become my new plug. We returned to the party hand in hand as a couple, ready to begin this new stage of our lives together. Laying back in my bed, I promised myself and hoped to God that everything with Jude would work out well. I knew it would because I was staring at the engagement ring on my finger. The smile on my face was enough proof that life was getting better.